We were little girls.
I was 16.
I was 16.
I started going to him when I was like 14, 15, 14 turning 15.
If you think at 14, $200, that's a lot of money at 14 years old. I mean, that's a lot of money now.
She's like, oh, do you need to make any extra money? I'm like, yeah. She's like, okay, I can give you, like $200. There's this older guy in Palm Beach. He gets a lot of massages from girls. That was really nice.
By the time I was 16, I brought him up to 75 girls, all the ages of, 14, 15, 16, people going from 8th grade to 9th grade at just school parties is where I would recruit him from.
All Jeffrey cared about was go find me more girls. His appetite was insatiable. He couldn't stop. He wanted new, fresh, young faces every single day.
The sheer volume of girls, the frequency, sometimes several or many in the same day.
Welcome to NeoUnrealist. Back in September, was it 2007 or 2008, I think, in a plea deal so ridiculous that it beggared belief, one Jeffrey Epstein, yes, that infamous friend of Bill Clinton, the registered sex offender, Tier 1, Jeffrey Epstein. The pedo billionaire, he was being prosecuted back then for abusing sexually about 40 underage girls. But investigators in Florida, they were able to identify, it's believed, hundreds of underage girls who were abused by Epstein. The 40 number is just the ones that the prosecutors felt confident enough to go to court with. For this case involving dozens of underage victims at Epstein, he got the worst sweetheart deal I'm aware of ever. 18 months jail time for abusing, in the court case, 40 underage girls. Now, there was 12 months tacked on of house arrest, but come on. Now, if this already sounds bad, only 18 months in jail, you've not even heard the worst of it. You know how it works. Epstein pled to state charges, which means that you get time off for quote-unquote good behavior. So right away, that 18 months actually turned out to be 13 months. 13 months in an isolation wing of a county jail. Nope. No real prison for Jeffrey Epstein. Complete isolation, 13 months. Okay, so you might be saying, it's a slap on the wrist. It's 13 months, though. He's in a county jail. I guess it's better than nothing, right? Wrong. In addition to the conditions being, his 13 months in an isolation wing of the county jail, Epstein also got as a condition of his plea agreement a 16-hour per day work release. That's right. You heard me. Keep in mind, there's only 24 hours in a day, so for 16 hours a day, billionaire pedo Jeffrey Epstein, for the 13 months of his jail sentence, reported to his house for quote-unquote work. He's a billionaire. Well, his work is being idly rich. That's right. He only went back to the county jail 8 hours per day at night, presumably to get some sleep. So the guy abused hundreds of underage girls, ran basically an international sex trafficking ring for underage girls. They had enough evidence with 40 of the victims to take him to trial for this in a slam dunk case, for his crimes against him. And all this guy had to do was, for about a year, sleep 8 hours at the local county jail and then spend his waking hours at his luxurious mansion. Outrageous. It gets even better. This rabbit hole goes even deeper. This is not even the worst of it. Not only did Jeffrey Epstein also get immunity from further prosecution on his child sex ring he was operating, you gotta realize who this person is. He had people whose job it was to procure underage girls for him constantly, lure them with the prospect of being paid, a couple $100 to give him a massage. The plea deal, you have to understand another thing. It was concealed. This was done in secret so that the victims, they didn't even know about it. They couldn't even contest it in court to say, hey, this guy is a predator. No, Epstein got immunity behind the scenes, and that immunity was also extended to all of Jeffrey Epstein's big shot friends and co-conspirators. Yes, you see, Jeffrey Epstein, this billionaire pedo, he has a lot of famous and powerful friends. And I often laugh when I hear lefties say, oh, he's been known to attend some Trump parties. You know, I start laughing. Trump parties in South Florida, presumably at, say, the Mar-a-Lago estate, is just what rich and famous people in South Florida do. You know, in my own life, I've been at 2 social/business events here in New York that Trump was at. This was years ago, before he was even doing The Apprentice. I think he was tagging along on some entertainment business venture about heavyweight boxing. He had some distant connection with the company, or the guy looking to take the company public, or no, it was there was a big boxer who was managing, not Trump, the entertainment company, was going to be at a fight at one of his casinos in Atlantic City, I think. Worldwide Entertainment is the name of the company, as it comes to mind. But I'm not even sure, it was a dog shit, pink sheet company. They didn't go anywhere. The point is, just because I stood near Trump and said hello to him at a party for a few minutes many years ago, doesn't mean I know him or I'm a friend of his. I was one of maybe 100 other people at the same venue he probably said a few friendly words to. But that aside, what the left never likes to mention is just how deep and close that friendship between Clinton and Jeffrey Epstein is. Bill Clinton, yes, you have to remember, so well known was Jeffrey Epstein's proclivities for just surrounding himself with young underage girls, if you knew nothing else. They're always on his private plane. They're being jetted out to his island. You ever heard of a guy that's jetting out random underage girls to his private island in the Virgin Islands? This guy had his own Boeing 727 that was known by people as the Lolita Express. Now, for those of you who watch this and you don't watch old movies, Lolita is an old film about a professor who becomes infatuated with an underage girl, fantasizing that she's seducing him and that they're having a relationship. Yeah, you think people didn't know what was going on with Epstein and what was up with him by the time his plane got the nickname the Lolita Express? Flight logs show that Bill Clinton took at least 26 trips on the Lolita Express. On many of those flights with Bill Clinton aboard the Lolita Express were Jeffrey Epstein's, his friend, the New York socialite Ghislaine Maxwell, and his personal assistant, Sarah Kellen. Both Maxwell and Kellen were investigated by the FBI and Palm Beach police for their role in procuring underage girls for Jeffrey Epstein and his friends. Now, the most interesting flight record seems to be on, I think, in May of 2002, when Clinton was listed as traveling on the Lolita Express without any Secret Service protection. Understand how unusual that is for a former president of the United States to travel out of the country, in this case to the Far East in Asia. This is in 2002 after 9/11, mind you, for 4 days and dismiss his Secret Service protection detail. It is so unusual that in order for it to even happen, Bill Clinton would have been required to file an official form with the Secret Service in writing, documenting that he was dismissing his Secret Service detail for that period of time. What were they making? Were they making a stop in Bangkok for old Bill? You're starting to get the picture. Jeffrey Epstein, the big part of that plea deal wasn't that he was pleading down to soliciting prostitution, which, mind you, these were underage girls unable to legally give consent to have sex with an adult. So the fact that they let him plead down to solicitation was itself a disgrace and bullshit. It's incongruous with the fact that they made him register as a Tier 1 sex offender. The worst. You don't get on the sex offender registry for solicitation of prostitutes. The big deal about this plea deal and the big stink, it wasn't the 18 months jail sentence, which was really 13 months, which was really bullshit because the pedo only had to report to the local lockup to sleep for 8 hours a night in his private cell. The big deal was that the plea deal specified immunity for prosecution forever for all of Epstein's friends, unnamed, who were also having sex with the underage girls. Unfreaking believable. This is a guy who ran an island jokingly referred to these days as Pedo Island, but this guy bought an entire 72-acre island for himself in the U.S. Virgin Islands named Little St. James, and the estate on the island was known as Orgy Island. This guy was flying underage girls as young as 12 to 14-year-old back and forth between presumably Florida and Pedo Island, his private personal island, to give him quote-unquote massages. You can't get a massage in the Virgin Islands, I guess. Hundreds of girls over several years. This guy was running perhaps one of the largest sex trafficking rings in the world. Certainly his inner circle of compadres who were flying around there with him and traveling with him around the world on his Lolita Express had to notice the bevy of underage teenage girls who clearly are not related to him and have no employment with him, flying around with him. This is insanity. It takes the Inspector General and now the Office of Professional Responsibility of the Department of Justice over 10 years to discover that, hey, something wasn't kosher with that 2007 or 2008 sweetheart Jeffrey Epstein plea deal. Even with the guy who oversaw the plea agreement, I think he works in Trump's cabinet. Just imagine if Hillary Clinton had been elected. This atrocity of justice would never have seen the light of day in a Clinton Justice Department. That's all for this New Unrealist. Like the video, comment, subscribe to the channel. Mash down on that notification bell. Some people tell me that YouTube likes to play games with their sub feed. If you're interested in tossing your hard-earned shekels at the channel, show your support. There's still a Patreon if you're a diehard over there. You're still hanging around. There's the PayPal link, of course. If you're watching this on BitChute, you can use the tip pledge button down at the bottom of the player. But nothing new to report on the subscribe star front. Still in review.